Hello everybody, my name is Devin Baldwin and today I will be discussing teaching WebXR to underserved communities. Let me go ahead and get started. So let me first give a little background on myself. Once again, my name is Devin Baldwin. I am a senior at California State University, East Bay. I am a web developer intern at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory where I create digital twins of the server room, well, created and now maintained a digital twin of the server room there. And I'm also lead instructor at a nonprofit called STEM Tank. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background on what STEM Tank is and what we do. So STEM Tank is a nonprofit here in the Bay Area. We specialize with more so the town of Oakland, California, where we prepare the next generations of technologists, innovators, and entrepreneurs with the skills that they need to be leaders in creating a more equitable and safe future for everyone. Yes, I just read that, but it speaks very true to our mission, and it seemed like the best thing to do. Let me tell you why it's important the way I introduced this. So, in Oakland, California, where I teach the majority of my classes, there's a problem. There's a lack of access to primarily Black and Brown communities, hence the underserved, underrepresented groups. There's a lack of access to technology, the knowledge, and the skill set that's needed to teach within these areas of technology. And me being a person who's well versed in the VR, AR, blanket term, XR space, um, I definitely wanted to be a part of this mission in helping the kids and being the gap and definitely filling in that gap. Sorry, filling in that gap. I don't want to be the gap. I want to fill that gap of access to be an accessible node to them. Um, and how I do that, or how we do that more so, is through just exposing the kids to different types of emerging technologies, having people come in within these fields and speaking on the happenings within the tech community, how to get these jobs, what happens once you get these jobs, and more so giving them a sense of, hey, I see somebody that looks like me in this space and they're doing that, and that's really cool. How would I get involved? I think that's something that I can do. Even when they don't believe in themselves, it's good to see, it's good to feel represented. Ultimately, it's good to see yourself in somebody doing something. Um, so let me show you a little bit about how I do that in my WebXR class. So I'm just going to go through a few approaches that I use within my class because just to give you some context, my students that I teach, these aren't necessarily kids who are right from the jump super excited about coding. They didn't wake up in the morning saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to sign up for this coding class. It's going to be amazing. This is what's going down. That's not the case. A lot of the kids that I serve are kids who are in the realm of, hey, yeah, my mom signed me up for this, or I'm not doing anything else after school, or, my friend's in here, so I'm in here. So you're already going into a situation to where the kids don't necessarily want to be there. So it's my job to help them understand why they need to be there. And that's what I pride myself in doing. So I'm going to show you or just go through a few of my approaches in how I go through and maneuver within this space. So the first step within my class, what I do is I introduce. I give background on what VR is. I help them understand what mixed reality is and the difference between VR and mixed reality. And once they can conceptualize and see what's going on within the VR, they try it on. They're like, "Whoa!" They see what's possible. They see they can move around. They can set the boundaries. They can duck and grab and different things that we weren't able to do in previous VR headsets. So using the Oculus Quest, well, I'm sorry, the Meta Quest 2 now um, gives us a great variety of ideas and concepts to approach. And I just have some video of some of my students. One second. Trying to mute it because it is kind of loud. I'm just going to mute that. Okay. But this is one of my students. It was her very first time ever being within a VR headset. And she didn't even go through the basics of really going through the first steps application. She just jumped in and she was kind of a natural. She just went in and, went to town playing super hot. And I have another student who wasn't exactly as adept jumping into super hot. So she went through the first steps application and it gave her the tools needed for her to really kind of conceptualize what is happening. Like, okay, I press this to grab, I let it go to not grab it anymore. I keep my hands here so I can be able to control things. Everybody has a different experience, and I've learned so much through trying this introduced method within this program because at first I went into it just thinking, oh, everybody kind of has the same idea. They get in here and then they'll have so many ideas of what they're going to make. But it's not the case. Everybody has just the way they operate is just so very different. And I see that a lot when I use this method and I see what the kids do and what they gravitate to the first time. So that kind of guides me in how I can teach them, how I can introduce these concepts in a way that they'll be able to understand and gravitate towards. So I think this is a very important approach. Definitely introducing what VR is and having them try it out. So now that they've tried it, they see what's possible. They can then go on to further understand, okay, I understand what that is. Now, what are you trying to teach me? So then from there, I usually do the breakdown. What the breakdown is me explaining, okay, now that you've gotten a taste of that and you know what that is, now I'm going to bring it into what is WebXR. And then I basically give them the overview, like it's extended reality, basically kind of a blanket term for VR, AR, mixed reality. But there's so much more because what WebXR is the accessibility from the browser, meaning you can access it in so many different ways because everything has a browser. Everything has a browser, especially nowadays. Your fridge has a browser. Your watch has a browser. Your phone has a browser. Depending on how much money you got in your pocket, your shoes could have a browser. You never know the way these shoes are coming out nowadays. So, but what I do with that is I give a solid background on what it is, and then I utilize a tool that they already have familiar for that. Sorry, familiar. See, that's what happens when I start going. I introduced a concept with something that they're familiar with. And what that is their phones. So I'm like, okay, here are some QR codes. I want you to bring out your phones. I want you to scan this. And they scan and they see the different type of things that are possible with frameworks like 3JS and A-Frame you know, and also those explanations on what those things are and how they come into play are also part of the breakdown. But more so, I want to focus on the tools that they have at their disposal. Everybody has a phone, and these days, everybody has a smartphone. And what do kids do these days? They're on their phones. They're texting. They're on Discord. They're looking at memes. They're looking at something. Why not play that to your advantage by introducing concepts that they can use on their phones? So they scan these. They can look at animations through the keyframes on how 3 3JS you can upload models that are animated, and they can look around, and they find interest in that type of stuff because it's tangible. It's right on their phone. It's already a tool that they're using. Why not introduce that? And then also, um, another example that I like to have on here is the Medal of Honor graphic for the Oculus.com for one of their new games, where you can scroll through and just kind of go through, and it takes you through a scene. I like to give you examples of the things that are possible with the technology that you're about to learn. Excuse me. So I feel like that's important to introduce. It's so important to break all these things down so that the kids can see, like, wow, you can do a lot of stuff with this. Like, this is really cool. But it's not only this. I also give examples of the desktop applications as possible, normal websites that just implement, 3JS or A-frame, just, you know, more so these WebGL concepts. And it really resonates with some of the kids. So after the breakdown, I usually do, ooh, hold on, sorry. I relate to them. And in my class, I utilize Code Academy's HTML, CSS, and Learn A-Frame classes. They're free courses. You can use them um, up to a certain point, of course, unless you want to pay. But they're very useful for what we need. I thought, I could write out a whole course, just do it on my own. But I'm like, why not utilize the tools that are here? That's just kind of a waste of time, in my opinion, writing out a whole course I could do, which at some point I will. But for the time being, if it's not broke, why fix it? So I utilize Code Academy. First, I take the kids through the HTML process, getting them to understand the structure of a web page, what it takes, what initially will be the foundation of their A-frame application. And I use A-frame because just for the sake of teaching and getting kids inducted quickly, A-frame's a good tool for that. Going down the 3JS wormhole would be for a more advanced class. So how I just kind of give the basic introduction is through the Learn A-Frame VR course. So during the learning process, a lot of the kids get frustrated, but I just do my best to relate to when I was learning HTML and I was learning A-frame, and just, giving words of comfort, letting them know that they're not alone in this process, that we all go through the different types of learning drops and highs and lows, and that it's all part of the process, and don't let that scare you. And then also, we all go through imposter syndrome as well, especially me. I've been through quite a bit of imposter syndrome. So, sometimes relaying that to the kids as they're learning, as they're really going through their learning process is very helpful to them. They do a great job of adapting, and just Code Academy makes it really, really simple for them to really understand and get a grasp of what's going on. So it makes it kind of a streamlined process. So this is not a sponsored video or promotion for Code Academy, but they do make my job a lot easier. But it definitely takes a patient teacher definitely takes a helping hand. So with that, that is definitely part of the approach. Moving towards the next approach is recap. Recap is extremely important when it comes to teaching kids, more so kids who already don't want to be there. And but at this point, all the kids, from the jump, they said they didn't want to be there, but now they've come around, they've seen what's possible, and they've seen that they can actually do it. The fact that they were able to create some of the things that they saw was a really inspiring piece for them. It's really something that grasped them and kind of made them feel accomplished. Like a lot of times in class, I'll help somebody through a problem, but then I'll let them kind of figure the rest out. And once they get it, they like yell like, "Oh yeah, I got it!" And I'll come over like give them a high five, like that. Like it's a very rewarding thing when you could figure something out. It's definitely something that is a rewarding feeling, and we as developers feel that all the time when we have something that we've had trouble with, and then we can't really figure it out. But then once we figure it out, we're like, yes, like let's go. So the kids have that times 10 because they're coming from a space to where they've never even experienced this type of thing, and then they're getting it to work. So it's definitely something that's awesome. So just recap, double backing on a lesson you might need to, you know, redo, or making sure that everybody is on the same page, because not everybody's going to be on the same page. You have different levels when you're dealing with kids and just people in general. So you want to make sure that you don't want to go too fast. You definitely want to pace yourself, but also check and make sure everybody's on the same page. Me personally, I don't like to move forward unless everybody's on the same page. So I make it a point to keep everybody, on the same level. And I have students in my class who are also, very, like self-starting. They're getting it really fast. So I kind of utilize them also to help their classmates. So then it's kind of a double lesson. I don't have to do as much. And it's not about me having to do much. It's just about utilizing your resources. And if your kids are getting it, you learn it even better when you teach it. I've learned so much more since I've even started the class. So having the kids teach it to their peers is definitely something that's been a great asset. So definitely recapping and going over lessons can definitely help that. And last but not least, showcase. Showcasing what all that hard work and painstaking hours put in, showcasing that. My class has just recently started, so I don't have anything to showcase yet. But when my students do finish their virtual worlds, I do want to be able to have all of you look at them and review them, tell me what you think. I would love all of that. That would be amazing. So I will see if I could possibly post the links within the Gatherverse resources. If I can, that would be amazing. But that is my time. Thank you all so much. I am at It's Da Vinci on pretty much all platforms, but the major platforms, Twitter, Oculus, and Instagram. Thank you so much for coming, and best of luck to all of y'all.